Hello and welcome to StoneX TV. Today we have a special conversation from COP30 in Belém, Brazil. I'm joined by three members of the StoneX delegation: Alfredo Nicastro, Global Head of Carbon Markets for StoneX; Ana Maria Zapata from StoneX Carbon Solutions; and Nathalie Flores, Vice President for Carbon Markets. Thank you all for being here during a very active and promising COP30.
Thank you, Fiona. It's nice seeing you again, and we're very excited to share some of our experiences and insights from this first week. We're here in Belém, Pará, at the Amazon in Brazil. Very hot weather, as you can suppose, but yeah, but we are having some quite interesting time here. Anna?
Hi, Fiona. Thank you. It's really nice being here, and it has been a really great week so far.
Thank you very much, Fiona. I'm very happy to be here at COP from the Center of Nature Protection and experiencing the momentum that we are having with the countries over here.
So very excited to discuss this. Let's begin with a recap of the first week. Nathalie, can you walk us through the main developments?
Yeah, of course. The first week is usually the week in which technical negotiators get together to get to work as it's called. So the COP opens, and the delegates of the countries start the talks in the negotiations room. So there are three important topics that are being decided at COP30 on the phase 2 implementation. Countries are deciding this legal text at international level, but now it's the time that when they get back to their countries and do the policies in their countries, these policies needs to go to implementation. So there are three topics. One is the new quantified climate goal on finance, and it's the decision of moving forward with $3 billion per year. Then we have the decision to operationalize carbon markets across the world, and of course also these decisions of nature protection and nature capital on the phase out of fossil fuels to enhance renewable energy and diversification in the energy space.
Let us turn to StoneX. How did each of you participate during this first week? Alfredo, let's begin with you.
Great, Fiona. Maybe before getting into our participation during this first week, I just wanted to add to Nathalie's highlights by pointing out some of the few contentious issues from the first week. We saw some familiar disagreements. We've been seeing that throughout the previous COPs around climate finance, especially with developing countries pushing for clear definition on how we are going to deliver the results that they are committing, and also new funding mechanisms. Another sticky point is always the transition or the phase out from fossil fuel. The language that is included in the text, of course, the oil countries push back. So this is a quite divisive issue, as well as the loss and damage financing, which is typically generates a lot of tension between the big emitting countries and the vulnerable nations. There's also some friction always over forest protection, indigenous communities' rights, and also some trade-related climate measures that impact the relationship between North and South. So there's a little bit of a divide that needs responsible decisions for implementation. So still plenty to watch in the coming week, right, this week. As for my direct participation, I had a chance to engage in three major discussions. One in the Chile pavilion, where we discussed a bit, we built on the experiences of Chile and other countries in Latin America in terms of how you can build carbon markets through cooperation and integration. Very interesting discussion. I also joined another discussion, completely different one, at the Hedera Regenerative Finance Forum, where we talked about how digital infrastructure and transformation, as well as verified data, can turn climate integrity into real financial asset, right? So that's basically because it connects capital with supply chains as well and climate smart finance. Very interesting. And finally, I took part in a IETA high-level executive roundtable where we discuss carbon markets in Brazil. Brazil just passed a new regulation, so we discuss how Brazil can build a credible, high-integrity carbon market here in the country.
Excellent. And Ana Maria, what about you? Any interesting discussions?
Yes, I had the opportunity to speak at the Digital Innovation Pavilion in a conversation focused on digital solutions, transparency, and the role of technology in unlocking scale for global carbon markets. The dialogue focused on digital MRV, digitalization, tokenization, market infrastructure, and how finance and technology combined can accelerate trust and market access. So it was very dynamic exchange and very aligned with the direction that the markets are taking right now.
Beyond speaking engagements, I know the delegation held several bilateral meetings. Who did you meet with?
We've been meeting different delegations and countries. We have had the chance of engaging with countries as Lebanon, Singapore, Japan, Malaysia, in which I had the chance to take part in a panel on carbon markets, talking about the future of developing carbon markets or carbon pricing scheme in such countries that is very strong in nature, but at the same time, they have investment in energy from fossil fuels, perhaps companies from there that are doing exploration in other countries. So the interesting approach of a country that still can export carbon, but still has a very high energy demand in terms of fossil fuels. We took part in the launch of a white paper of what's the next steps for them, and I had the chance to share in what we learned from other countries when we go to Latin American countries, perhaps Peru, Uruguay, and we in which StoneX is trying to bring liquidity, right? We also met other interesting countries from the developed world, like the European Union. And this week, we look forward to keep the conversations to understand where the countries are in terms of implementing these policies that they are deciding over here.
Yeah, and Fiona, these exchanges, they're always very telling, right? Because they really show how different the level of preparedness is from one country to another. Some countries have fully implemented their tools already, have staffed already their different ministries and secretariats. They're really typically involved with the carbon markets, but many others are still struggling to define their main political, institutional, and market actors, and not to mention the recurring topic of the shortage of qualified personnel at government departments, right? So at the same time, it's clear that a lot of countries are now moving to operationalize and actually implement actions for their carbon markets and are looking for credible partners, right, who understand financial tools, market structures, and cross-border transactions as well. So I think the level of interest in working with StoneX, for an example, was very encouraging. So it makes us want to keep coming to these conferences and working with the different delegations.
So a very interesting first week. But looking ahead, what do you expect during the second week when ministers arrive?
Well, as you just said, the second meeting is the high level meeting. So the ministers come to the table after the topics are discussed by technical level, and they come to the table to actually decide what is going to shape this economic transformation that we need. So the ministers are due to decide on how to operationalize Article 6 of the Parties Agreement, that it's carbon markets, climate finance, and how that connects with climate finance. decide as well on how to operationalize the funds that they already have in place, like the Adaptation Fund, the Green Climate Fund, the Global Environmental Facility, but how to operationalize the Loss and Damage Fund. As Alfredo explained before, this is very important because countries decided the fund in Egypt at COP22 and still is not operating. And that means move beyond aid from developed nations to developing nations, and really shaping private sector involvement in these decisions to be able to shift this economic transformation. And of course, the mitigation ambition. Mitigation, when we talk about mitigation in this space, is basically what we do from the StoneX perspective. So we want to bring liquidity to the market. We want to help countries and private sector reduce their carbon emissions and make their operations cleaner. So for that, the countries need to decide they are going to go beyond of where they are right now in their policy in order to enhance private sector investment in reducing carbon emissions and make their operations cleaner.
Yes, and this second week is also very important for the private sector. A lot of businesses and binational actors will announce commitments and partnerships. So it reflects a global change where climate action relies in a very important way on private finance and innovation. So it is also the sense and example of our presence here at COP30.
Yeah, it's very nice points here. I think that the decisions made this week, this second week, will influence climate action for many years to come, with real impact in our daily lives. So that's a critical week, I think, right? It's not only going to shape compliance markets and corporate strategies, but also investment flows across countries and sectors, right? As a Brazilian, I had the chance to take part in the Rio Summit back in '92, so 33 years ago, where carbon markets were starting. So it was actually before Kyoto Protocol was even in place. So I have high expectations on what Brazil can deliver now at COP 30, despite some infrastructure challenges that we saw the first week. But it was just minor details, I guess. See, if in week one, most of the focus were about negotiation, I would say that week two must be about decision and delivery. This is when the political will needs to actually turn into action, setting very clear signals for how countries, businesses, and investors can move together toward a low carbon future. So the choices made here in Belém can define the credibility and direction of global climate cooperation for the decade ahead. And StoneX, of course, at StoneX, we are fully committed to helping our clients move from commitment to implementation, delivering real, scalable climate solutions.
Thank you, Alfredo. Thank you, Ana Maria, and thank you, Nathalie. This has been a rich and insightful conversation. As COP30 enters its second week, we look forward to seeing how negotiations conclude and what opportunities emerge for StoneX and its clients. Thank you to everyone watching this internal update. More insights will follow as the conference progresses.